Hey, what up? My name is Mariah Karina, and this week I'm going to share with you one of my basic foundational tips for working with your dreams, for dream interpretation. And there are many theories out there about dreams, and one of the ones that I love comes from Carl Jung, who is sort of the father of taking dreams seriously and believing that they had information for us. And he believed that sometimes dreams can be messages from the unconscious, and they can be messages about the parts of ourself that we are marginalizing during waking life. So here's my tip for when you're looking at your own dreams is to pay attention to the figures or the elements in the dream that are not you. Because theoretically, the part that is you in the dream is the part that you're more identified with. But the dream itself represents this holistic map of your consciousness. And so if you really want to dive in to what those subconscious or unconscious parts are that you're not identified with, the place to look is actually in the figures or the elements of the dream that are not you. So I'll give you an example. I had this dream that I was in sort of the street of my childhood home where I grew up, and there were all of these golden leaves falling from the sky, and I was running around like crazy trying to catch them with this thing that was kind of like a bucket and kind of like a net, but the net had this hole in it, so I'm running around trying to catch these golden leaves with this bucket with this hole in it, and it's not working. So obviously the part that I'm identified with in the dream, which is also an indication of the part that I'm identified with in waking life, is the one who's running around trying to collect all the leaves, right? And I can be like, what does that mean? I'm running around, I'm collecting all the leaves and I'm trying, but I can't do it. And I could spend a lot of time focusing on that, but actually I know what that is, right? It's like a mental loop that I've been running in my waking life where I feel like I'm trying and struggling and striving and things aren't really coming together. It's actually much easier to identify with the me in the part of the dream because it corresponds to the way that I experience me, a known way that I experience me in waking life. The me in the dream who's running around trying to collect the leaves is on the map of my everyday identity, of my known experience. So one way to work with this dream is to look at what are the other elements or figures. And the first thing that comes to me that seems the most vivid is of the golden leaves, right? Like, what is it actually to be a golden leaf falling through the air? That's something completely different. And if I actually go into it, into the experience of that figure or element in the dream itself, of being this radiant golden leaf floating through the air, it gives me an entirely different experience, a less known experience to my everyday identity or mental loops. And when I did that, when I was like, what's it like to be the golden leaf? I got this feeling of radiance and of complete trust in the falling, in the process, in this ecstasy of being guided by the wind. And what about that bucket, that like net with the hole in it? If I imagine being a net with a hole in it, it's something similar. It's about like being like a tube, like being able to just let things go, let things flow through me. And then if I put them together, right, this experience of like radiance and floating and being moved by the wind with this ability to just let things go through me, then it's something about connecting to spirit, connecting to that internal radiance, to connect with the part of me that feels guided, and then to let that experience of spirit itself move through me like a net with a hole in it. And you could say, oh, well, that's like a really like pretty dream or whatever. But first of all, from the perspective of the me that was trying to collect the leaves, it was not a pretty dream. It was an anxiety-ridden dream. It was only when I got into the experience of the other figures that it became something very different, something about golden leaves. But you could say, okay, what if I have a dream about a killer or a vampire or a hurricane? And I would say the same thing, that the key or the tip here is to get into the experience of the other figures. Because of course, from the one who's being hunted down or the one who the killer is chasing, the killer is terrifying. But if you're the killer itself, it's a completely different experience of being in pursuit, of being in control, of being focused, of being powerful. Like actually the experience of the killer itself isn't so bad. And if you sort of take it at its essence, instead of it like the literal thing of like you should actually go kill people, but if you take that essence of being purposeful and focused and in control and connected to your power, and like there's something that you care about so much that you would kill for it, then that could be a really empowering experience. And you could ask yourself, where do you maybe need more of that in your life, right? Where do you maybe need to be more like on your purpose and focused and like willing to do what it takes to achieve your mission? Then it all becomes exciting. What about an earthquake? What about being like that powerful that you could shake the foundation of the earth, right? If you're dreaming about that, that power is in you. And it's probably something that you're less identified with. And so your dream is giving you this information about your own wholeness, about what might be the key to sort of orient at this moment in space and time. So that's the tip. Find the elements of the dream that are, or the figures in the dream that are not you. Get into their experience. Kind of go with it. Go with it a little far. Think symbolically. Move somatically. Get to some kind of very different experience that's off the map of your everyday identity, that's off the map of your own mental loops. And then think about where it is that you might need more of that in your life. Or where it is that, like, if you were going to actualize that power or that quality, what would it be? What would it look like for you?